When you hear the name Island Boys, you might think of viral fame, crazy hairstyles, and wild interviews. But what if I told you there's a much darker story behind those faces? What if I told you that some of hip-hop's biggest names are actually afraid to cross paths with them? At first, the Island Boys were just two twins from Florida chasing clout, turning TikTok into their personal stage. But somewhere along the line, that goofy act turned into something far more serious. Rumors began swirling that these boys weren't just internet personalities. They were connected to real people, real streets, and real consequences. Behind the viral videos, there's been talk of shady deals, hidden affiliations, and even recorded threats that made top rappers take a few steps back. Some claim that a few industry figures tried to expose the twins, but mysteriously backed off after receiving unexpected phone calls. Others say the Island Boys have powerful connections that keep them untouchable. And then there's the whispers, the kind that say the twins aren't just protected. They're being used by someone far more dangerous. Suddenly, their wild confidence, their strange interviews, and their unpredictable outbursts. It all starts to make sense. Because when even tough rappers start saying, "Nah, I'm good, I'm not messing with them," you know something's off. This isn't just a TikTok story anymore. This is a cautionary tale about fame, fear, and the underground world that no one dares to talk about. From the outside looking in, the Island Boys seem like nothing more than viral sensations. Two tattooed twins from Florida who rose to fame off one catchy, chaotic freestyle. But if you look closer, there's something darker simmering beneath all that internet noise. Behind the memes and drama, whispers in the industry suggest that these boys have ties that go far beyond clout chasing. And that's exactly why some of your favorite rappers are keeping their distance. Let's rewind for a second. When Kodiak Red and Flea Soulja, the twin brothers behind the Island Boys, mentioned first hit TikTok, nobody took them seriously. They were mocked, memed, and called everything from wannabe gangsters to industry clowns. But despite the internet laughing, their fame skyrocketed. Within months, they were rubbing shoulders with real rappers, sitting in interviews with DJ academics, and showing up at influencer events where things quickly went left. But what most fans didn't know at the time was that the Island Boys weren't new to chaos. Long before TikTok fame, they were reportedly mixed up in the South Florida street scene, surrounded by gangs, drugs, and local violence that shaped who they were before the world ever saw them. According to sources close to the brothers, their rise wasn't just luck. Some say it was backed. Insiders allege that behind their flashy antics, the twins are connected to people with serious pull. Individuals who've been involved in the darker corners of the Florida rap and trap world for years. And while the Island Boys might come off as wild, unstable, and unpredictable, that unpredictability is exactly what makes them dangerous to mess with. Multiple rappers who've had run-ins with the twins have described them as reckless and unhinged. One Florida rapper even admitted off camera that he'd rather not get involved after a heated altercation during a video shoot went wrong. He said they got people behind them that don't play. It's not worth it, but that's just the surface. Things got really strange when certain rappers started trying to expose the Island Boys, only to mysteriously back off days later. In one case, a small-time YouTuber dropped a video claiming to have proof that the Island Boys were faking their money and affiliations. Less than 48 hours later, the video disappeared and the YouTuber posted an apology claiming it was all a misunderstanding. Coincidence? Maybe. But it wasn't the last time that happened. According to reports, the twins have had confrontations not just online, but in person, including one situation at a Florida nightclub where they allegedly clashed with a rapper's entourage. Witnesses said that within minutes of the altercation, a group of unidentified men showed up outside the venue, forcing security to shut everything down. No one was hurt, but the message was clear: don't mess with the Island Boys. And that's the thing. Nobody can quite figure out who's really pulling the strings. Are the Island Boys truly connected to street figures? Or are they just leveraging chaos as a weapon, making people believe they're more dangerous than they really are? What we do know is that fear travels fast in the hip-hop world. Once a few artists started hinting that the twins were bad energy, others followed suit. Their names became taboo in certain circles. Even podcasts that once joked about them stopped mentioning them altogether. One insider said, "It's like everybody suddenly decided they didn't want the smoke." But why? What exactly are rappers so afraid of? Part of it has to do with the brothers' unpredictability. They don't operate under the usual industry rules. They don't respect hierarchies or OGs. They'll call out anyone, even someone with real power, without hesitation. That kind of energy creates chaos, and chaos makes people nervous. But it's not just attitude. The Island Boys' lifestyle has gotten darker as their fame grew. Leaked photos have shown them surrounded by weapons, drugs, and questionable company. Their live streams often end in fights, breakdowns, or cryptic rants that sound more like confessions than entertainment. There's this lingering feeling that something bad is always one argument away. And rappers, especially those who've built reputations off being street smart, can sense when something feels off. Behind closed doors, some have privately admitted that they don't want to be caught in whatever they got going on. Others believe that the twins' fame is a front, that they're being used by powerful people to create distractions, push agendas, or even clean money. Then there's the question of loyalty. The Island Boys are known to turn on anyone, at any time. One minute they're praising someone, the next they're exposing private texts, or starting beef online. That kind of unpredictability makes them walking liabilities. And in an industry where image and alliances mean everything, that's a risk no one wants to take. When rapper Blueface tried to collaborate with them, it ended in disaster. What was supposed to be a fun, viral link-up turned into a screaming match live on Instagram. Blueface's team later said they regretted even reaching out, calling the twins too unpredictable to work with. Even Logan Paul, who's seen just about everything in the influencer world, said after interviewing them that they gave off chaotic, unstable vibes. But maybe the real reason rappers are scared isn't about street ties or beefs. Maybe it's about exposure. The Island Boys have proven they'll put anyone on blast, no matter how big the name. They've leaked private DMs, released screenshots, and even hinted at secret dealings between major artists. That unpredictability, that willingness to say anything, is a nightmare in an industry built on image control. So while the average fan might still see them as a meme, the industry sees them as a ticking time bomb. Because once you get on their bad side, there's no telling what they'll say, who they'll expose, or what doors they might open that were meant to stay closed. And that brings us to the chilling part. According to one source who's been around the twins since before the fame, the Island Boys have nothing left to lose. That's what makes them truly dangerous. Not their fame, not their money, but their fearlessness. They've already been canceled, humiliated, and mocked worldwide, yet they keep coming back stronger, louder, and bolder. And that's exactly why rappers who once laughed at them are now keeping their distance. Because when someone has nothing left to lose, they become capable of anything. As the Island Boys' notoriety continued to grow, so did the rumors surrounding them. What once seemed like typical online trolling soon turned into whispered conversations in studio halls and private group chats among rappers and managers. Some industry veterans even started advising newer artists to stay away from the twins entirely, calling them a liability wrapped in chaos. Behind the viral moments and crazy social media antics, insiders claimed that the Island Boys' rise wasn't as organic as it appeared. There were whispers about silent investors, shadowy figures who allegedly funded their early lifestyle, bought views, and paid for publicity just to push them into the spotlight. But who these people were, nobody could say. The more anyone tried to dig, the more they ran into walls. A well-known Miami DJ, who once tried to work with the twins, told a shocking story during a podcast that was mysteriously deleted just days later. According to him, when he tried to back out of a small performance deal after realizing how unstable things were, he got threatening phone calls. Not from the twins, but from people he didn't recognize. He said, "It wasn't the boys who scared me. It was the people behind them." Those voices didn't sound like industry. After that, his story vanished, and he's never spoken about it again. Meanwhile, the twins continued spiraling, fighting everyone, from rappers to content creators to even each other. What made them truly unpredictable was their total lack of boundaries. If you crossed them even slightly, they'd air you out live. Screenshots, private messages, voice notes, nothing was off limits. That's when things took an even darker turn. Late one night, a leaked clip started circulating online showing Fly Sulya in a heated argument with an unknown man. The man could be heard saying, "You don't know who you're playing with," to which Fly Sulya coldly replied, "You don't know who's protecting me." The video spread like wildfire before being deleted from every major platform. But by then, fans had already saved it. It became the moment that made people realize the Island Boys weren't just reckless, they were fearless. And that kind of fearlessness, especially in an industry full of egos and pride, makes people uncomfortable. Even more disturbing, rumors began spreading about violent incidents that allegedly involved people close to the twins. Some claimed that former associates who tried to expose them suddenly disappeared from social media, stopped posting, or refused to speak about them ever again. Rappers who were once eager to collaborate started backing away. One Atlanta artist said privately, "They play with something different. It's not just clout. They got people that move in silence." By now, the Island Boys had completely flipped the script. They went from being mocked online to becoming feared. No one could tell whether it was real or an act, but the uncertainty was enough to keep people away. Then came the breaking point. During a controversial live stream with a major rapper, the twins began throwing out cryptic comments about the truth behind the industry and the people who really run things. At first, viewers laughed it off until Fly Sulya mentioned names. Real names. People known for being untouchable in both the entertainment world and the streets. Within hours, the live stream was pulled down and their accounts mysteriously glitched. Coincidence? Fans didn't think so. Conspiracy threads exploded on Reddit and X, formerly Twitter. Some users claimed the twins had been warned. Others went as far as to suggest that the Island Boys had stumbled onto something they weren't supposed to see. Whatever the truth was, one thing became clear. After that stream, the twins were no longer just internet entertainers. They were wild cards. And nobody wanted to be near them when the next meltdown happened. A well-known music blogger described them best. "They're not dangerous because they're gangsters. They're dangerous because they're unpredictable and protected by someone who clearly doesn't want to be seen." Even their relationships within the influencer community began falling apart. Collaborators like Bryce Hall, Logan Paul, and the Nelk Boys all cut ties with them after too many weird moments. Multiple influencers reported feeling uncomfortable around them, citing strange conversations and sudden mood swings. It was as if one wrong joke could trigger chaos, and sometimes it did. In one particularly tense incident, the twins reportedly cornered a videographer who had refused to edit out an embarrassing clip. According to witnesses, one of the twins threatened to make a call if the footage wasn't deleted immediately. The videographer later posted that he lost all the original files due to a hard drive failure. Another coincidence? Fans didn't buy it. At this point, the Island Boys' reputation had completely shifted. They weren't seen as entertainers anymore. They were viewed as something unpredictable, untouchable, and even cursed. Artists stopped inviting them to events. Managers warned clients not to associate. Even club promoters quietly took them off flyers, claiming they didn't want to attract drama. But here's where things get even stranger. Despite all the controversy, the twins continued flaunting luxury cars, diamond jewelry, and designer clothes, all while their streaming numbers and endorsement deals plummeted. Fans couldn't figure it out. How are they still affording this lifestyle? That's when more whispers started. Whispers about hidden money, fake contracts, and outside investors. According to one industry insider, they're being funded by something, or someone, that doesn't care about clout or losses. That's why they can't be canceled. In the rap world, perception is everything. When artists started realizing that the Island Boys weren't afraid of being blacklisted because they weren't playing the same game, it became clear why people were scared. They didn't follow the rules, didn't answer to labels, and didn't fear consequences. They existed outside the system, yet somehow survived within it, and perhaps that's the scariest part. You can't predict what they'll do next, because they don't care what happens next. There's a story that's been floating around Miami for months. One that's never been confirmed, but everyone knows. It's about a rapper who allegedly tried to press the twins over money they owed him. According to the rumor, the confrontation got heated, words were exchanged, and within 24 hours, the rapper's studio was mysteriously vandalized. Cameras caught nothing. No suspects were ever found. And he never mentioned their names again. Coincidence after coincidence, or a warning pattern that rappers have learned to recognize? At this point, no one's laughing at the Island Boys anymore. The same rappers who once mocked them in interviews now avoid saying their names altogether. Even podcasts that made entire episodes clowning them have quietly deleted those videos. It's like the industry collectively decided to act like they don't exist, because pretending they're not there is safer than provoking them. But here's the thing. Every time people try to bury them, They come back louder, wilder, and more unpredictable than before. Which begs the question, what's really protecting them? Luck, influence, or something far more sinister? Because if the rumors are true, the Island Boys aren't just two viral twins from Florida. They might be pawns, or worse, partners, in something much bigger, something the hip-hop world doesn't want exposed. And that's why the fear isn't about who the Island Boys are. It's about who's standing behind them. By the time the rumors reached their peak, the Island Boys had gone from being industry jokes to full-blown urban legends. No one in hip-hop could quite explain how two viral twins with messy reputations and endless controversy could still survive, let alone thrive, after everything. But as more stories started to leak, the truth behind why rappers were really scared of them began to sound less like a conspiracy and more like a terrifying reality. According to multiple sources from the Florida scene, the twins' early connections didn't come from music at all. They came from survival. Before TikTok fame, both Kodiak Red and Fly Soulja were allegedly mixed up in street activities that ran deep in Palm Beach County. They were known to hang around older guys, the kind who didn't do interviews, didn't post online, and didn't forget disrespect. When the Island Boys blew up overnight, those old connections didn't vanish. They evolved. Insiders claim that when the twins started getting invited to parties and rubbing shoulders with real rappers, some people in the background began using them as leverage, watching every move, controlling every deal, and stepping in whenever someone tried to challenge them. That's when the shift happened. Suddenly, no one wanted to beef with them anymore. One Florida producer said off record, "It's not that the boys are powerful. It's that the people behind them are unpredictable. If you cross them, you don't get a second chance." Then came one of the most disturbing stories that had the entire underground scene buzzing. A local promoter in Miami claimed he booked the twins for a show that never happened. When he tried to get his deposit back, the twins went off, live on Instagram, mocking him and daring him to do something about it. A few nights later, the promoter's car was found vandalized, his equipment stolen, and his social accounts hacked. No arrests were made. The message was loud and clear: don't push them. That incident marked a turning point. After that, rappers stopped challenging them publicly. The jokes, the memes, the parodies, they all started to fade. Even commentators like DJ Academics and Adam22, who had no problem roasting anyone, suddenly avoided their names. One insider claimed, "They know better. You can talk about anyone, but not them. Not anymore." But the fear didn't just come from rumors or threats. It came from what the twins knew. The Island Boys had been in the rooms where rappers got messy, where business turned personal and deals turned into dirt. They'd been around label execs, influencers, producers, and street figures, and they had phones filled with receipts. Screenshots, videos, recordings, enough to destroy careers if ever released. That's when the industry realized it wasn't just about physical danger, it was about exposure. You couldn't silence the Island Boys because they didn't care about consequences. They weren't chasing awards or acceptance, they were chasing chaos. And chaos, in an image-obsessed industry, is the most powerful weapon there is. Around this time, rumors began to swirl about a blacklist. Several rappers reportedly told their teams never to book shows or interviews where the twins might appear. Publicists were told to keep names separate. Even social media managers were warned not to tag them in anything. They weren't being canceled, they were being avoided, and yet the twins didn't slow down. They doubled down on controversy, releasing bizarre videos where they'd call out artists, accuse people of stealing their style, or hint at industry secrets. Fans dismissed most of it as trolling, until one of their crazy claims actually turned out to be true. Months earlier, they'd hinted in a live stream that a certain rapper had been cheating on his wife with a well-known influencer. Everyone laughed it off, until weeks later, TMZ broke the exact same story, with the same names. That was the moment people realized that behind all the chaos, the Island Boys were plugged into something real, and that's what scared everyone the most. Even rappers known for street credibility started dodging them. One Atlanta artist told an interviewer, "It's not worth it. They don't got boundaries. They'll say anything, post anything, and drag anybody down with them. You can't win against people who got nothing to lose." The story took an even darker turn when Fly Soulja began hinting at revenge plans in his live streams, speaking cryptically about making people regret what they said. Soon after, a YouTuber who'd spent weeks clowning them online suddenly deleted his entire channel, claiming he was done talking about certain people for safety reasons. Whether real or fabricated, the intimidation worked. Meanwhile, the twins' behavior only got more erratic. Public fights, bizarre interviews, emotional breakdowns, and constant feuds kept them trending. But the scarier part was how untouchable they seemed. No matter how wild their actions got, from disturbing live streams to violent altercations, they always came back online the next day, laughing it off. People began whispering that the Island Boys weren't just reckless. They were protected by something deeper. Maybe it was street loyalty. Maybe it was someone powerful in the background pulling strings. Or maybe it was simply fear itself that kept everyone silent. And through all the madness, one thing became crystal clear. No rapper wanted to be the one who found out what happens when you push them too far. Industry insiders started using the twins as a cautionary tale, a warning about how fame without guidance turns dangerous. One manager said, "They're what happens when chaos meets money. Everyone wants to control them, but no one can." And even as people laughed at their antics, they couldn't deny the power the Island Boys held. Because somehow, through controversy, fear, and madness, they had made themselves uncancelable. You couldn't silence them, couldn't control them, and couldn't predict them. That's power, the kind that terrifies even the biggest names in the game. So why are rappers really scared of the Island Boys? It's not their music. It's not their image. It's their unpredictability. And the fact that nobody knows where their power truly comes from. Whether it's connections in the streets, industry secrets, or just pure fearlessness. The Island Boys represent a new kind of danger. One where fame, madness, and mystery collide. Because in today's world, the scariest people aren't the ones with the most money or the biggest guns. They're the ones who have nothing left to lose. And the entire world watching, and the Island Boys, they've already lost everything once. Which means the next time someone crosses them, it won't just be another internet beef. It could be something far more serious. The kind of story that reminds everyone in hip-hop why sometimes. It's better to stay quiet. If you thought you knew the Island Boys, think again. Because what's really going on behind those viral smiles and palm tree tattoos is way darker than you could ever imagine. From sudden disappearances to silent threats that even major rappers refuse to talk about, it's clear these two have tapped into something far more sinister than fame. But this story, it's still unfolding. So don't go anywhere, because I'm diving deeper into the hidden world of the Island Boys, the secret alliances they've formed, and the terrifying power plays that have the entire rap industry walking on eggshells. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that like, and turn on notifications, because what's coming next might just change the way you see hip-hop forever. This is Green. And trust me, if the trap just got way darker.